Hello and welcome. You are listening to the Third Thursday podcast with your hosts, Harry Ozarek and Ben McEntee, where we hope to connect, encourage, and equip student ministry leaders of today. This is a resource provided by the Rocky Mountain District of the Christian and Missionary Alliance, and you can find us on all major podcast platforms. Please hit the like, subscribe, and share buttons to help others be connected, encouraged, and equipped to reach students with the gospel. Here are your hosts, Harry and Ben.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Third Thursday podcast. It's great to be with you again, Ben. Today, our topic is about connecting with your community. And before we get into that, as we always want to do, we want to start out the podcast with either a unique, funny little thing or a thoughtful question. And so today it's Thoughtful Question Day. Cool. And the question I have for us and for our listeners is, what are some of your favorite, maybe unique, life-fulfilling habits? That's a mouthful. Favorite, unique, life-fulfilling habits.
Okay.
And so when I ask that question, my mind is going towards, we need to be in our word. We need to be praying.
Sure.
I would love to think of those things as not necessarily unique, but habits that are taking place in the believer's life. Now, you and I both know, both in our own lives at times and in people around us, that's not necessarily always a very common habit, to be in your word every day, to be praying every day.
Of course.
But I'm thinking of alongside those things, right? So one of the habits that come to mind for me is when I pick up my boys from school. And this came from a lot of trial and error. Okay, so much error on the dad's part. Is if they got in trouble at school, little things, whatever, having to put their head down and things like that. They'll come out. We have a policy of just being open and honest and just share with me what happened and the highs, the lows. I always ask them, another habit, I always ask them if anything funny happened at school. I love that question. That's one of my favorites. But the habit that we established after some trial and error is we don't have the conversation about what bad happened at school, if they got in trouble and things like that. And we give an hour space. So when I pick them up, we don't, if they got in trouble, like, they can share that and all that good stuff. But then we don't talk about, like, okay, why did you do that? Do you know that that's not right or that's bad? And those kind of things. We have that conversation specifically later at home after they've had a chance to get home, to decompress some, to relax. Because I found those conversations didn't always go super well right out of school. They're emotionally drained. They're tired. And so that's just that's one of those things. Another thing that we do is on the way to school. I always tell our kids, and I think it was either you or someone else I was talking about, love God, love others. It's just one of those things that we say every time before they get out of the car. Remember, what are we going to do today? We're going to love God. We're going to love others, no matter what. And then I have one of my boys pray before dropping them off. So those are just a couple different things. That just kind of, some of them naturally happened. Others, like I said, came from lots of trial and error. But I'm curious for you, Ben, what are some life-fulfilling, life-giving habits in your life?
Absolutely. One quick question, though, real quick. Like, do you start the hour timer, like, once they get in the car?
I don't start a timer. I have to be honest, I don't start a timer.
Okay,
and some days maybe it's 40 minutes, right? But it's that rough idea of give space. That conversation's still gonna be there in an hour. That's kind of the little saying that you did something.
You give
wrong.
them some space.
Yeah, that conversation.
And I love that, man. That's a good dad move.
Well, life isn't gonna shatter in an hour. That conversation's still gonna be there in an hour.
Right.
And it's not gonna be any worse. Just letting that. Just chill for a second.
No, I love that. As I was thinking about favorite, unique, life-fulfilling habits, one that I automatically think of is just having family time, whether that be regularly scheduled vacation time, which for us, we go and visit family out of state in the summer, and that is That's also when my ministry is kind of dies down a little bit.
Yeah.
We
Yep.
we do a lot of things in the summer, but we die down right at the beginning of summer, especially when people here in Bozeman are ready to get out. The snow's finally melted and things,
yeah.
and
Yep.
people are doing family stuff. So we decide that's a good time for us to do family things. Also, just not even necessarily vacation-y sort of things and getting out, but one family time thing for me is my day off. One of my days off is Friday, and my children are in a charter school where they're in school part-time, and then they're doing homeschool stuff. So I help do their homework on Friday, but then I'm also dad cooks dinner on Friday night.
Ooh,
And
I like
so
that.
I like to grill. I like to Dad's Burgers. I don't think they're anything special, but my children love it. They think they're the best. I mean, I used to I think it's because I cook bacon, and then I get Danielle, my wife, and we love mushrooms, so I grill up mushrooms.
Oh, yeah.
And we do it up, right? We get
Yep.
avocado. We like avocado in it. Just soup it up, and then. So Friday night dad dinner is a big deal.
Right
So that's probably something that I'm enjoying to do. That's a unique life fulfilling habit, and that gives my wife a night off cooking. And
Absolutely.
And then allows me to cook up some good meat. So
Yeah.
I love that.
No, I love that. When you mention that, I think of growing up. Saturday night was burgers and fry night.
Yeah.
We always had burgers and fries. Burgers and
Yeah.
fries, Saturday night, burgers and fries. And it's one of those things, it's so simple. It's so, in the moment, it's so little. Yet I look back at it and just
You
fond
love it.
memories all over the place.
Oh, you love
Dozens
it.
and dozens. Yep.
Oh yeah.
Even
Yeah,
the littlest thing.
For me, it was my dad, and he wasn't a very good cook at all. It was Denison's chili and
Okay.
hot dogs.
There you go.
I mean, that was it. But we loved it. We loved it.
Okay,
we loved it.
Going down this rabbit hole, my dad used to make what he would call poor man's spaghetti. Okay?
Yeah.
And it was, he just he browned up ground beef.
Right.
And got a bunch of different cans of tomatoes, like the chunky can of tomatoes and tomato sauce.
Right.
And then just boiled up macaroni noodles, and then just threw it all in a bowl, mixed it around, and it was like one
Done.
scoop spaghetti. That
There
was
you
one
go.
of my dad's
See, no, that's good.
deals.
Da-
And I
dad
still remember
meals.
that. Yep. Yep.
Good stuff. Yeah, good stuff.
I love it. Well, yeah, appreciate you sharing about that.
Yes,
our
same.
conversation today, again, is connecting with your community.
Let's do it.
And as we approach this conversation, first and foremost, we want to define what do we mean by community? Because I think we all have a bunch of different communities within our life. And so today we're really looking and specifically talking about the community outside of our church, the community outside of our church body, church family. Though it could still involve them, obviously, but
Sure.
really thinking about our surrounding community, our town, the activities happening in our town, the schools, your workplace, all those kind of things. And and as we look at that, the first thing that comes to mind of why I think this is such an important conversation is sometimes in my own life, I've lost perspective of, where God is already moving and doing things,
Right.
and
Right.
providing opportunities for me to be connecting with my community
Yeah.
and plugging in.
Yeah. Yeah, we're serving in the building, but it's about getting out of the building,
Yeah, absolutely.
right? And doing that. So where are places in your community where you are at, where you can be serving, or the
Yeah.
new opportunities that you're unaware of?
Yep. Yeah,
Yep.
because there is a
Cool.
community within your own church, right? There's a community within your body of
Right.
believers.
Right, but we're talking about the one outside. So we're talking about
specifically-
getting out of the
Yeah.
church walls, getting
Yeah.
out of your office.
Yeah, because there's great opportunities out there. And if we're
Mhm.
being honest, we're called to reach our surrounding communities. We really are. If you're a Christian, you're not called to sit in a holy huddle. You're
Right.
called to extend
Exactly.
extend the
Exactly.
reach
Exactly.
And there's nothing wrong with being engaged in your church body. In fact, that's another big calling in our lives, is to be engaged, involved in the church community, in your body of believers, right? But today
That's a community.
specifically,
Yes.
absolutely. But
Right.
today we're
It's a community.
specifically
We're
talking
talking.
about
That's
outside
right.
of that community, because I think that gets missed quite
Mm-hmm.
often. Not necessarily because we're not involved in a physical way, like
Yep.
being present, but like I said earlier, I think in some ways we just we miss the opportunities because we don't have that perspective that attending a football game is
Right.
being involved in the community, or at
Right.
least it can be.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. It getting outside of the walls of the church where you're already at, where your students are at, where your parents are at, you get to engage different people. You also get to meet people, whether they're believers or not, who parents and children, students that you're serving are engaging with.
Yep.
And they get to go. How many times have I been introduced to parents who have children, students who my youth are around, by parents are going, yeah, this is our child's
Yep.
youth pastor. And it's like, hey,
Yep.
how are you? Nice to meet you. I
Yep.
mean, you would never be able to meet that person in that capacity without being there. And there are times where you're going to be at those things. You're going to be at a sporting event. You're going to be at different things. So
Yep.
it's good stuff.
Well, and as you share that, there are areas of our life where we're already involved in things, and this isn't
Yeah.
about adding more to our plate of what to
Exactly.
do, but just seeing where God already has us and taking advantage of it. But there is also a challenge in our own lives of, is there space for something new? Is there space to add opportunities that God has
Exactly.
out there? And so, like, attending a sporting event that maybe your kids aren't involved in would be that addition, yet could have a profound impact for your ministry, but more importantly, just for your own relationship with the people around you.
Absolutely. I think one thing that I do, I got children, elementary and middle school aged kids,
Yeah.
and pick up and drop off at the school.
Yeah. Yep.
That's happening.
Yeah.
Right. And I know that there are parents there that either attend my church, but also parents that attend other churches or unchurched people.
Yep.
And there are many of those people looking for community, and they're going, and here you have like-minded in some capacities, right? Parents coming together, and you get to go in and say, hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
Hi, nice to meet you.
But Ben,
And
that's
just
scary.
that. What's scary?
Just
they're
randomly
scary?
walking up to somebody, randomly
Just randomly
walking
coming
up.
up. No, is that scary now? I mean,
I think it can be for some.
Are you
if
scared
I'm being,
of that?
well, no. But I'm not everybody. I'm the odd duck, I think, sometimes.
No, it's me too. Me too. Me too.
But to your point, 100%. Like I'm as you said that, I immediately think of picking up my own kids from school, and
Right.
there's a gentleman that picks up his son and daughter and walks right by me every single time, and
Yeah.
I've tried to have a little bit more conversation than hi.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Right.
And had some success. And the reality that I think I've noticed is he seems to actually want to have more of a conversation as well. And so
Yeah.
seeing that, taking advantage of it, 100%, that doesn't add anything to my day as
No.
far as time, as far as energy. What it does, though, is it opens up a door of, I'm already here. God already has me present physically in this space, and there's people here that I could be connecting with. Right. And so
Absolutely.
that's a beautiful example. Picking up your kids from school, beautiful example of what is already there in front of you taking place.
Yes. It's a little thing. It's a tiny thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a big thing. It can be something that you're already doing. And if you're living for the Lord, as we do imperfectly, and you're moving and you're rubbing elbows with people, which you just do, and you're engaging them intentionally, you are raking soil.
Oh,
You
yeah.
really are.
Yep.
You're raking soil of people's hearts, whether you know it or not. And that's powerful. That's important. So where are those places? Where are those
Yeah.
things? Some are going to be things that you're already engaged in. Some things maybe it's time to branch out a little bit. But
Yep.
that's what we're talking about. And you mentioned this. I think this is so important. We are not saying this to add more things to your plate. We understand. For some of you,
You might have space to
you might have
add
space.
something. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Maybe it's time to like go, hey, I need to engage a little
Reprioritize
more.
and
Right.
Yep.
But for some of you listen to this who are serving young people, you go, I'm tapped out.
Yep.
Hey, we hear it.
Yep.
I get it. I get it. Don't hear this and go like, oh no, we're getting a list of more things to do.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
But you can look at the areas in which you're out engaging the community and think, how can I leverage that as a follower of the Lord, and especially with someone who's serving young people. I think that's good stuff.
Yep. 100%, right? And the reality that I've noticed is growth happens when we reach out. Because we're stretched, we're challenged, but also a relationship is waiting on the other end of that reaching out. And sometimes it's not always returned. Sometimes it's not always reciprocated, right?
Yeah.
But often it is, even in the smallest way. And, encouragement can come from that. Opportunities to share life comes from those things. And like you said, students and parents are going to get to know you more as well. When you reach out, you're giving opportunities for growth, both in your own life and in the lives around you. And we discount, I think, sometimes the impact of that. And this tiny little mustard seed of faith, or this tiny little mustard seed of relationship that's been, planted or sparked, could grow into something amazing,
Yeah.
Maybe don't burn a mustard seed, but you get what I mean.
I know, I get it. I know, Harry. I think you're right on. I think that's an encouraging word to a youth worker or who's serving right now, and maybe thinking, I'm not doing anything. Now, you are. You are. Notice. We're just inviting you to see what you're doing and think, wow, what impact am I making in parents, in the youth that I'm serving, and in my own life, and in the life of those who need to know the Lord.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's one part of the equation, one part of the conversation, which is we have great opportunities that are all around us right now, whether it's picking up your kids from school, going to one of your kids' events. I think some of my favorite things so far with my kids, specifically opportunities, is they'll have different events at the school throughout the year where they need parent volunteers. Parents jump. That is like the greatest thing. The school is inviting you in to come and help and be a part of it. And I love taking advantage of those things. For people without kids, there's going to be opportunities where, if you're going to the grocery store or if you're going to the bank and things like that, opportunities where you can just have little conversations with the checkout people, conversations with employees around the store, with clerks, managers. And again, you cannot discount, please don't discount just that 5-minute conversation with that other person where that might have been their only, for that person, that might have been their only positive, life-giving, encouraging conversation they'll have all day.
Yeah, I was thinking the grocery store that popped into my head too. I've had multiple opportunities and experiences like that. I think about you. You mentioned people who are serving young people who don't have children yet, or like, what are your hobbies? What are you doing? Right? Do you like to hike? Do you like to fish? Do you like grab a parent and a child, right? And say, like, hey, you want to go out? Like get a couple of youth.
Not kidnapping.
Yeah, exactly, right? But, I mean, go in appropriate numbers, right? So
appropriate numbers.
Yeah, I mean, rule of 3 is always good. And but these are things that you're already doing.
Yeah.
Right, and the things that you enjoy.
Yeah.
Inviting people into that, young people and families that you're serving. That's cool. I understand that's hard. That's not easy. I would rather. To be sincere, I'd rather go like, you know what, on those things, I like to be by myself. And not to say that you have to do it every time, but there are those times where you can really make that impact.
So in this conversation, you and I, we chatted, and we came up with kind of a list of really practical ways for anybody to be involved in their community. So I'm just going to rattle these things off here.
Okay.
All right. So listeners, if you're listening here, please get out a pen, get out a pencil. You can pull out your phone if you'd like to. But here's just kind of a list of different areas in your community that you might have an opportunity to engage in. All right. So one is going to sporting events. Huge. knowing the events in your community. If there's a concert going on, if there's a parade going on, if there's a service opportunity going on, huge. That's a great opportunity.
Yeah.
Most schools are dying for substitute teaching.
Mm-hmm.
They are asking for it every year. I know many schools in our area, big and small, that would love qualified, really good substitute teachers. And that doesn't mean qualified like you've got a 4-year degree in education. It means you're there, you're going to be responsible, you're going to know the material, and you're going to teach it to the best of your ability.
Yeah.
Like substitute teaching, huge. Coaching. There are so many schools looking for coaches of all ages.
Yeah.
In fact, a lot of times they really struggle to get the junior high coaches. And so that's a great opportunity where you don't necessarily have to, like a high school coach, you got to have a higher proficiency of the sport and all those kind of things. And then there's a little slash to that, reffing.
Yep.
All our sports require refs of some kind. Even cross country, you need someone taking the clock. You need someone being a lead car. All these things, helping set up, tear down. Like it doesn't matter the event. There's help that's being needed for that sport, specifically reffing. Our sports need refs. So that's a great opportunity.
That's good. That's
well.
Awesome. Yeah.
I think as I go down this list, so there's some more unique things. Mental health opportunities in many of our communities wide open. If you don't know about mental health opportunities in your community, you can go to your hospital and ask them about ways that you can serve and help with mental health. You can go to your county health department and ask them if there's ways that you can volunteer and serve. Mental health is a big window for someone to come in and be an encouragement in people's lives. For myself, I got asked one time to come and help with the radio announcing for high school and high school football and basketball games.
That's
and
cool.
Jumped on that, and I got to do color commentary there, and that was a lot of fun, and I have been able to keep doing that. And so that's unique. We have our own little catering business called Smoke and O's Catering. And so I really, my wife and I look at this as a ministry opportunity where we get to go and we get to serve. That's what it's all about. We get to go serve and
that's awesome.
Cook awesome food and get to be with people. And to me, there's almost nothing better than getting to cook food and spend time with people sharing that food.
You share a meal with someone, they're ready to listen.
I love it, man. I absolutely
that's good, man. That's good,
love
Harry.
it. But what are some areas that you've noticed?
Sure. I mean, in the past, right now, currently, I teach one class at a charter school. I teach guitar, intro to guitar.
Love it.
And it's a great opportunity to get to know a number of students. Also, just things in the past that I've done. This isn't an extra thing, just on a normal midweek service. We just went and served at the Salvation Army here in Bozeman during our normal youth group night, had parents come and drop their students off, and we cleaned that place out and made sandwiches and things because they're giving out lunches to people in need in our city. And the gal who runs the Salvation Army there, they have a very small crew. They were so thankful. And I mean, we cleaned that place out, and there was some need there, and that was awesome. And our students got to see that. Our parents get real excited about that when you see that.
And it didn't add one more thing to the calendar. It integrated it right into the ministry God's called you to seamlessly, which I love that example. That is a phenomenal example.
And also for things like that too, like your whole youth group can do it, or if they need a smaller crew, if you're running, which we do, and I know, Harry, that you guys have like small groups, just go like, hey, our small group's going to go serve over here or do this thing, right? Find out where there are needs. Another thing that I learned, and this works for some contexts, not for all, certainly in Montana and in rural areas, this might be more difficult, but walk your neighborhood, like know your neighbors, just your neighbors. I live in the parsonage next to our church, and it's a blessing. Our neighborhood has a lot of young families, and you know what? Sometimes there's some things that happen in the middle of the night where people are out and about, and I've actually come out, and I went out last week outside while some people were having an argument with my Bible. and I just went in with my Bible,
Love
and
it.
and they were like, hey, please don't call the cops. And I'm not calling the cops. I didn't have to in that instance, but I mean, just like I it makes me feel for my neighbors.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I want to know my neighbors and to be a good neighbor. And there's hurting people living around us, and that's just a reality in the world. So how can you engage them and know them? So
I love
that's
that.
something. Walk your neighborhood and then pray. Dude,
Mm.
that's something you can do with your youth, is just do like a prayer walk around your church. That's like a first step, like mission experience. Honestly, it's like we're
Take
just going
advantage.
slightly outside the
Yep.
doors of the church, right? Yeah.
Yep.
It's good.
Simple things that you can take advantage of today.
Yeah.
Right now, that can have that will have long impact. Long-term impact. So the reality is, Ben, when we talk about this, and the thing I think that I would love for every listener to get from this is God has you in your specific place for this specific time for his purpose, right? And this idea of looking up, because we can get really tracking on what we're doing and our eyes kind of looking down.
Yes.
Look up,
Yes.
see what God's doing, lean in,
Yeah.
and understand what he is doing around you, and press into that.
Yeah.
Look up and lean in to what he's already doing around you. And
that's good.
if we can leave them with that, if people listening, if you can just apply that, I think crazy awesome things are going to happen, not only in your ministry, but in your own life.
Absolutely. That's so good. I want to repeat that just one more time.
Do it.
Take a moment right now, if you're hearing this, to God has you in the place where you're serving.
Yes.
Right at this time, for his purposes, the God of the universe.
Amen.
The Savior of the world, right? The one who redeems us by his Son, right? So and look up. Sometimes we're just looking at the grindstone. We're just going. We're going. But stop. Look up. Survey. The surroundings, and then lean in on that and go, God, you brought me here, and you're working through me, and you're doing stuff. I think that's so good. What a good encouragement. What a good encouragement.
Yeah, his word tells us he's already prepared the way, right?
Yeah.
He's already prepared the way. He's already doing his work around you, and he wants you to participate in that. So, appreciate you joining me in this conversation, Ben.
Same.
As always.
Love it.
As you listeners come away from this conversation, you're processing, we want to leave you with this little tool, this simple tool of asking these 3 questions. How does this conversation affect you and your leaders? How does it affect your students? And how is God being honored in and through it all? And so thank you again for listening to the Third Thursday podcast. We do hope that you've been able to connect a little bit, encouraged, and equipped. And we'll catch you next time.
Awesome.
Thank you for listening to the Third Thursday podcast. We hope you feel connected, encouraged, and equipped to reach students with the gospel. You can find more resources at rmdcma.com/youth. If this content was helpful for you, make sure to share it with a friend. See you next time.